Hey YouTube, it's EvanMagician34, and this is the top 5 cards and a few honorable mentions for Pharaoh's Servant. Honorable mention number 1, Time Seal. It's a deceptively good trap. It's since been banned, obviously, for a couple of combos where you can just infinitely loop it via Mask of Darkness. Basically, it's sort of like a reverse Jar of Greed. You flip it and your opponent skips their next draw phase. The power of that basically is in the ability to lock your opponent out of cards. It's simple, it's direct, it's pretty self-explanatory. But it's a really devastating effect. It's almost like getting a free turn. And to think there was once a time when you could run 3 of these. Plus, think of this, it's a trap, so you set it, they try to destroy it, then you chain it. So you can actually sort of steal a free card out of it. So, quite good, worthy of mention. Jinzo ranks in next. Once a very sought after, very potent card. Not so much anymore these days, but he still warrants mention because he locks out all traps. And it's only for 1 tribute. In a way, he's really, he's technically a -1, but effectively he can lock out so many more cards, he kind of gives you more advantage than that. And there are very few cards with such an absolute, clear-cut effect like that. Next up is Limiter Removal, a card which has enabled quite a few OTKs. It's just that surprise kill factor. It pumps out so much damage. Plus the fact that it's a quick play, so you can set it to flip it on your opponent's turn and in the damage step. It's that kind of flexibility and sheer force that makes Limiter Removal worthy of an honorable mention. Just barely ranking over it for official card number 5 is Thousand Eyes Restrict. Fusion summoning him, really not necessarily the most practical route, but when summoned via cards like Instant Fusion or Metamorphosis, this guy can prove to be quite powerful. Instant Fusion I don't think really is that devastating to bring him out because he's going to die at the end of the turn. But anyway you can get this guy on the field and keep him there, he's a major lockdown card. And it's just the fact that no one can attack, they can't change position, so they can't use flip effects on him like, say, Raikou. And he sucks up one of your opponent's monsters every turn. This guy, especially in combination with cards like Tsukuyomi, was just a card advantage machine. He could just suck up and kill monster after monster and after monster. And while debatably in the metagame as of the date I made this video, this guy probably doesn't deserve to be on the ban list anymore because everything that made him broke is banned, namely Metamorphosis. This guy probably could come back and it wouldn't break the game. Instant Fusion wouldn't be so bad because he'd die at the end of the turn, but that's another whole speech. Number 4, Call of the Haunted. That trap speed reanimation has proven to be quite useful, and what's interesting about this versus some of its alternatives like Monster Reborn and Premature Burial is that you can chain this to destruction effects since it kills the thing it reanimates, and you can bring back cards like, say, Sangan to get their effect, or even Card Trooper, and so when your opponent destroys this, you get the benefit of the monster. And it also doesn't hurt that you can sometimes even stop whole attacks by bringing back a big fat monster, and bringing back a monster is never a bad thing, really. It's a very powerful effect, so that's why Call ranks in at number 4. The top 3 of this set are actually very close. It's hard to call a clean-cut winner. Number 3 is Cold Wave. Some might argue this card higher, but Cold Wave's having to be played at the beginning of your turn was one of the factors that kind of led up to me not ranking it higher, although I can certainly see arguments for it going higher. It's the fact that you can basically, especially if played on the first turn of the game, lock your opponent potentially out of spells and traps for 2 whole turns since they can't even set cards, makes Cold Wave a very potent card. And of course, just like Giant Trunade and Heavy Storm before it, this card enables you to do that one big setup turn where you kill your opponent. The difference is, unlike Heavy Storm and Giant Trunade, this isn't going to let you use spells in order to try to set up your OTK or something. So no help from Premature Burial or Monster Reborn or other spells to try to set up a kill. But nonetheless, a number of decks really benefited from this, and it definitely deserves a spot. Ranking number 2, Premature Burial. It may cost 800 life points, but it's probably one of the better 800s you'll ever pay. Just brings back any monster from your grave, and it's at spell speed, so the second you draw it from your deck, bam, you can activate it. And it doesn't hurt that there are now ways to search this card out of your deck, like Hidden Arsenal. So, there's really nothing, or Hidden Armory, sorry. But really, there's nothing bad to say about this. While it's not quite Monster Reborn because MST and stuff can thwart it, it's still very powerful, and you can never really underestimate the value of bringing back any monster from your grave. Just very, very potent effect. And last but not least, ranking number 1 for this set, Imperial Order. You just flip it and it instantly kills all spells. And unlike things like Royal Decree, which might get foiled by spell speed 3s, all spells are either going to be spell speed 1 or 2, so Imperial Order can always chain to them to shut them off. While you can't damage step it against them, that's about the only crippling factor to this card. And for a mere 700 life points, you can lock your opponent out for multiple turns. And many decks in the past, and definitely in the future, are heavily reliant upon their spells to get good cards and keep things going. Imperial Order shuts that all down. And it also helps that you flip it during your opponent's turn to screw him out of a card, but then if you need spells, you have the option of not paying the life points. So you can still reap all the rewards of spells without any of the drawbacks of locking your opponent out of theirs for that turn. Oftentimes, you waste a very powerful card when you flip it. It belongs in any deck, too. So all these factors conspire to make Imperial Order card rank #1 for Pharaoh's Servant. And until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool videos.